Hello once again, everyone. Carrying on my little book report video series on Star Trek Lives, personal notes and anecdotes. Very meaningful book. I did finish it a while ago, so I really need to power up and just get these videos taken care of. I covered Chapter 2 in my last video, The Tailored Effect. I'm going to skip Chapter 3. And that's fine. Chapter 4, I also was going to skip. I'm actually going to make this a relatively short video. There's just a couple of things I wanted to cover here. Chapter 4 is the Spock charisma effect. So the reason I was thinking about skipping it is it's a chapter devoted to how charming people find Spock, specifically women. And very prepared to just kind of glaze over that part of the show. But there was one very specific thing, and then kind of a minor tangent that I did think was worth covering. So here we go. So the most fascinating thing I read in this book with respect to Spock, we all know that Spock is the quintessential logical person, which is why he's right most of the time. And for anyone that even remotely knows the mythos of the Star Trek show and the subsequent universe, some people assume that Spock has literally no emotions, and other people, say that Spock has emotions, but Vulcan culture, encourages you to bury it down deep. Various points of the show or whatever have different takes on that, and I'm not going to get into what is official canon and what is not. I don't have the knowledge for that really. But here's the thing that I really enjoyed reading from this chapter. Page 89 for the record. One of the reasons why Spock is an interesting character is the turmoil and conflict within him. He's half human, half Vulcan. He is continually at war with himself. I do not think that the conflict is precisely between Vulcan half and human half. It is not genetic, it is philosophical. He is a man who has chosen reason fully and without reservation, not only for his work, but for his life. Not only as his last resort in a crisis, but as his first resort in every moment, in every choice of word or gesture. Reason is the price of life. Reason works. Facing facts, however unpleasant, is the only way to deal with them. Reason demands and makes possible the virtues of courage, productiveness, pride, honor, and self-esteem. This is difficult for anyone, and especially for Spock, because he has accepted one crucial error. It is an error shared by Kirk, by McCoy, by the makers of Star Trek, and above all by its fans. It is built into our philosophy and into Vulcan philosophy. It is the idea that reason and emotions are enemies. That there is a necessary conflict. To live by reason, one must deny and destroy emotion. Believing that, Spock must try to suppress his emotions, repress them utterly and deny them unconditionally. He is Spock. He is consistent. He is extravagantly willing to pay the price. For he knows that there is a price. He knows at the bottom that he does have emotions. Perhaps he knows that it is not just his human half that has emotions, but his Vulcan half. However much Vulcan philosophy would try to deny it, however much 1,000 years of Vulcan teaching have tried to destroy it. He may even glimpse at certain moments the fact that to deny something which has such an indestructible, persistent reality is a breach of reason. It is, in fact, not logical. But he cannot resolve that contradiction. He is locked into it by an error that is not merely his, but ours. So that part of the chapter I very strongly agree with. The idea that reason and emotion, or, science and faith, as being contradictory, you must abandon one to embrace the other, That is a false dichotomy. That is the either-or thinking that rears its head. And as human beings, I just think we're like geared toward that. We choose one over the other, when in so many times in life, the true reality is it's both. It's a both and situation. As human beings, we are not called to be reasoning creatures or emotional creatures. We are called to be emotional, rational creatures. Rational, emotional creatures. The two at work side by side. And that has always been my philosophy, my worldview when it's come to reason and science versus faith. That's a story for another video, I think. So the other parts of this this chapter, I should say, I didn't enjoy quite as much, because a huge thing about Gene Roddenberry is that the whole philosophy behind this, primarily in Vulcan culture, I think, is Eidic or Eidic. I don't know how to pronounce it. IDIC. Infinite diversity in infinite combinations. IDIC or Eidic. Again, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. The glory of life, our differences. Gene Roddenberry arrived at his adult growth with the deep-seated personal philosophy that it is the combination of our differences that is the greatest beauty in all of creation. And that's kind of the part where Gene and I don't completely agree. Diversity is certainly good. As a general rule, I don't believe that diversity is literally the highest virtue in all of creation, because some things that are diverse can be bad. Taking into account just a really specific example: marriage, family, domestic life. No two people. No couple of people is identical to any other couple. Every marriage, every family is utterly unique in spite of all the patterns that we can assign, to families and all that. But there are families out there that are truly harmful and destructive. I knew one guy, his father was so hands-off as a father. When his son wanted to drop out of high school for no real reason, the dad was basically of the philosophy of, do whatever you want, son. If you think dropping out of high school is the right decision, you know what? You go for it. Technically speaking, infinite differences and infinite combinations, that kind of says that kind of fatherliness is just as beautiful as the father who says, son, that's a terrible idea. Let's talk about this a little further. So again, I believe that diversity is good when it is paired with truth and reason. There is objective truth. I truly believe that. In spite of all our subjectiveness and subjectivity as human beings and all that, there is objective truth. And when we favor diversity against the truth, that's when it becomes a problem. So diversity, it's a value that is at its best when it is paired with other values. And if Gene Roddenberry were alive today and sitting right next to me, I'm very confident he'd have a counter argument to that. But to be fair, in the book, he does make it clear, sorry, not he, the authors, who are all female, the authors do clarify that it is more complicated than that. When we talk about infinite diversity, infinite combinations, Gene Roddenberry's love is that we can talk about our differences and that everybody can, coexist and all that, and that's very true. One of the great joys of Star Trek is that such issues can be debated. Spock is not alone. He has all the qualifications to be the loneliest man in the galaxy, and he is not. That's everybody, one of us. That's all of us. If we completely throw away this value of diversity and understanding and appreciating one another's differences, if you take that step to complete intolerance of anything that you don't agree with, well, then you have made all the prerequisites to be the loneliest person in the universe. because you're not very likely to meet anyone who completely agrees with you on everything. And if you have no ability to resolve differences, then any difference, no matter how slight, has the power to profoundly isolate you from the people around you. So, again, credit where credit is due. While I don't completely agree with Roddenberry on his value, in that way, I do think he makes some excellent points. And if Gene Roddenberry had the power to debate me face to face, I think over a little bit of time, I think we'd find a very reasonable compromise where the two of us are probably agreeing on quite a bit, with some disagreements right there on the fringes. So let me just take one last thing here. Yeah, just the last underlying thing worth sharing here. This is an optimism that says it is possible to find someone who understands your innermost silent and lonely battles. But again, the whole idea of the Star Trek view of the universe is it's only possible for people to understand you and have compassion with you if we have that infinite diversity, infinite combinations, to appreciate differences and work through them where we don't attack all things that are different. So, food for thought. Food for thought. I know there are a lot of people out there that absolutely agree with Gene Roddenberry on that, and it is profound. And I do believe that it is a message we need to take more seriously, even if I may have a caveat or two about it. So that's Star Trek Lives Chapter 4. Chapter 5 is pretty major, the Optimism Effect. That'll be a major video, so stay tuned for that. And thanks again for watching, and God bless.